You're locked in to Two Heels, One Hobby, the main event for wrestling fans and collectors. Headlines, heat, and high-end cards, hosted by Beer and the Grinch. This is the main event.
What's good, YouTube? Welcome to Two Heels, One Hobby. This is our inaugural episode. I'm Chris, a.k.a. the Bearded Grinch, along with my tag team partner over there, Beer. Beer, how's it going?
Doing well, man. Coming off the Elimination Chamber, which, I thought was solid. We're going to talk about it. I think it was a decent show. Felt very predictable up until the end, which was a nice little surprise. But really excited to get this going. Passionate about wrestling, both of us, wrestling cards, and kind of tying all that together. Really excited about this show. So doing well. Ready to get this bad boy off the ground.
Absolutely. Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's all about the passion that we have for the cards, is which kind of drawn us together to get to do this. And we're going to do things a little bit differently, right? So there's hundreds of outlets where you can get news and information and rumors on wrestling. We're going to do it a little bit differently. You and I have a passion for not only wrestling as a business, but also the trading card side of it. And we're going to marry the two together, right? We're going to have a little bit of what we do in the hobby, as well as what's going on in the world of wrestling, and how those two things collide, and how we can bring that to you guys so that you can, maybe if you're not into wrestling cards at all, maybe you can dip your toes in that water, or if you're just here for the content, you can get all the news, rumors, and things that are going down. So why don't we introduce ourselves a little bit and tell me, because I'm interested too, a little bit of the backstory is where did the passion for wrestling come from for you?
I mean, I've been a fan forever, and the gray beard will tell you I've been a fan forever. So I'm talking back like Hogan body slamming Andre at WrestleMania 3 and, things like that. So always loved wrestling growing up. Me and my brother were big fans, locked in every week, sitting watching Monday Night Raw, and any content we get our hands on, the old CDs, you remember where they'd have all the intros, and just loved it, and then you grow up a little bit, still watching it, to start to have a family, and kind of drifted away from it, and then really got back into it within probably the last 5 years, and just have been watching religiously. As far as cards, very new to wrestling cards. Now I collected cards as a kid, like most of us, baseball, basketball, football, forever, went to shows every weekend, was really into it. Again, kind of got away from it. COVID brought me back into collecting cards, but
I think COVID hit a lot of people.
Yeah. And that was a big boom for the hobby. And I think that's, we saw the big boom, kind of a dip, and now the hobby feels as healthy as ever right now. I mean, I've gone to shows, and I know you've done the same, and the lines are out the door. There's just people everywhere. So you love seeing it. But wrestling cards, I'm fairly new to it. I dabbled a little bit back in the early days, but within the last year or so, about when Topps Chrome came out, I was like, man, this is kind of cool, and slowly kind of dipped my toe into it, and then it just grabbed me, and I loved it. I love this community, the shows that are out there, the cards that are out there, just chasing different things, and really, really passionate. So just kind of tied a lot of my passions together, collecting, sports, wrestling, and then this newfound hobby of wrestling card, which I've dove in, 1,000% now, and absolutely love it. Day to day, looking at eBay, looking at whatnot, things like that. So that's kind of my journey in a nutshell. But super excited about wrestling cards, and getting this podcast going to talk about all those things.
Yeah, it's funny. We have really parallel paths. So I'm very similar. You could tell. I mean, my gray's coming in a little bit. It's not so much at the front, but a little on the sides. But I'm right there with you. My first match I ever attended was Hulk Hogan versus adorable Adrian Adonis in a steel cage back in the 80s. I was just a young kid, and I remember the memories of my grandfather would pick us up. And, people may not be even familiar with Blockbuster, all these young kids that are in the hobby right now. But we used to have a Blockbuster video where we actually had to get VCR tapes to put in a VCR. And we would always go when we spent the night at his house and have sleepovers there at my grandparents, and we would get those videos and watch the WrestleManias over again. And, that kind of carried me through a little bit into college. Fast forward 15 years, I was in a fraternity, and we would all watch, at that time it was, not Friday night, but it was Thursday night SmackDown. They had Monday Night Raw, and we were big into the NWO. We were Wolfpack all the way. Just loving that. And to your point, life gets in the way, right? I've got two daughters who are now in college. So things took a little bit of a backseat, a hiatus, and then, just out of nowhere, just started back into the sports card market and dipping my toes back into that, which I was really passionate about for a while. Got on this Whatnot app and started seeing wrestling cards pop up, and it just became so nostalgic for me and just brought me back right to where I was when I was in elementary school and watching all the matches, and then, in college with my buddies. So there's a lot of nostalgia to it, when I think that really brings people to the hobby. So same thing, just got back into it. Been watching religiously. We're going to get into this latest PLE last night with the Elimination Chamber. Got some really, really good thoughts about that. But the card market as well, it's just something that I'm passionate about. And what I love about wrestling, right? We talk about it. Obviously, injuries can happen, but these are timeless characters, right? It's not like majority of them are going to have this injury that puts them out forever, or even if they retire, their legacy lives on. You've got people that are still huge Hogan fans and Brutus Beefcake fans and Ultimate Warrior fans. And so that really drew me into it too. So as you said, excited to get this podcast up and running so we can share our passion with the community, and then get the community involved with us, and hopefully just make this thing grow into something that we can all enjoy. So,
yeah, I mean, so similar journeys, like you said, the nostalgia, that's a great point. It just ties it all back to your childhood. I think that's why a lot of people collect wrestling cards. And I love the passion for wrestling. When somebody likes, their person, they're going after all of their cards, and there's just so many different ways to collect, which we're going to talk about, different ways to PC things, invest in things, buy lows, sell highs, things like that. So we want to intertwine all of that in the show, along with, talking about the shows, the PLEs, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, things like that. So again, just a beautiful marriage of all of it all together in one place.
Yeah, it's the beginning of a long journey, but you said it out of the gates. We had a really exciting, mixed reviews. They're out there. I think the word that you said is something that I probably honed in on myself, predictable. But let's go ahead and just get into it and start talking about this Elimination Chamber. We had a huge PLE, one that I think a lot of people look forward to. Obviously, last year set the bar pretty high. You had the Rock turn with Cody Rhodes and John Cena there, so there was a high bar set for this one going into it. But let's kind of break it down match by match. But overall, let's just say PLE as a whole, give it a grade A, B, C, D, E. Where are you going to put this in your rankings?
I'll give it a B. I thought it wasn't the best show I've ever seen. Certainly wasn't the worst show. I thought the matches were done well. There was some great action in them. Again, the predictability is what's keeping my grade down a little bit, but unfortunately, a lot of WWE stuff lately has been a little predictable. So, it kind of comes with the territory, but all in all, just getting some of the athletes in the chamber, I think makes a lot of sense. We'll get to the men's match. We saw some high spots, things like that, but it was a good card. It wasn't overwhelming. I think it was the right amount of matches. We had our surprise crate, which we will get into here as we go, but all in all, I think it was decent as we obviously now are on the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I'm in that C+, B- category as well. I think the predictability is sort of what drew it back a little bit. And we're going to talk through each match. We're going to start off with the Women's Elimination Chamber and give the highs and lows there. But I think they started off on a really strong foot. I've heard some interesting comparisons. I've heard people giving this an A. I've heard people giving this a D, which I don't know how you watch the same thing I did and give it that sort of grade. But beauty of this is we can all have our own opinions, right? But we started the evening off. We had the Women's Elimination Chamber, 6 competitors going at it. Kiana James was in there. You had Raquel Rodriguez, Alexa Bliss. You got to see mommy herself, Rhea Ripley, in there doing her thing, all with the chance to face Jade Cargill, right? And that was the big question. Who's it going to be? I think a lot of people going into this were kind of honed in on Tiffany Stratton. For me, I'm very much relieved that it was anybody but her. I probably would have been okay with anybody but her. I'm not sure anybody wants to see the Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill run back again. I thought maybe they could have swerved us a little bit with maybe an Asuka win or maybe an Alexa Bliss out of nowhere. But based on what we saw transpire, I think a couple of my high points, and I want to get your thoughts on it. I thought Kiana James is definitely a star in the making. They obviously see something in her. They're going to push her. Physical skills were better than I anticipated. She really can do some things in the ring, which was awesome. Obviously, they're painting Raquel as, the bad mama jama, and that's what she is. I mean, she went in there and just obliterated and destroyed. Little throwback to Roman Reigns with the double pin, so I thought that was really good. There's more storyline with her for the Judgment Day, so I think it's okay that she didn't win. Alexa Bliss not winning, I think, was okay because I think her story with Charlotte is still they've got to just sew that up somehow. So I'm good with Rhea winning. I think they need to get the belt off of Jade as quickly as possible, in my personal opinion. This is where part of the Grinch comes out, right? I get a little cynical. So as you guys watch the shows, you're going to take that out from me, but I'm called the Grinch for a reason. For me, Jade Cargill is the female version of Bill Goldberg. Physical specimen, not great on the mic, and just does not have the skills to have a belt around the waist yet. I'm not saying it can never get there. I'm just saying for now, what I see is just not championship level material. I would have rather seen a WrestleMania with Rodriguez versus Rhea Ripley if you could. If they could somehow work that into the storyline, that'd be great. But what was your take on the Women's Chamber?
Yeah, I'll start with Jade. I'm on the same page with you. In fact, tying it into cards, I don't know that I've ever bought a Jade Cargill card, and I try to stick to my PC, but I go out quite a ways, and, cards that are interesting, cards that are a good investment, cards that you can flip, whatever it may be. I don't think I've ever bought, and I'm talking thousands of cards. I know I said I was new to this, but I've been going pretty crazy on it, but I've never bought one of her cards. The look, obviously, she's chiseled out of stone like that.
Sure.
That you're never going to be able to take away from her. But how many times has she defended that title? I think I heard once over the last 100 days. Like, it's not like she's a part-timer, never there, and can't defend it. So I don't understand that. But I thought once Rhea lost the tag team titles on SmackDown, that instantly triggered, like, okay, they want her to win, go on, face Jade. It was the match that made the most sense. Could you make a case for any of them? I'm with you. I don't want to see Tiffy against Jade again. Bliss, a legend for sure, but that program with Charlotte is absolutely coming. It just feels too soon for Kiana, for Rodriguez. So I think Rhea was the right choice, but that's part of that predictability. Once some tag titles were dropped, it was instantly like, okay, Rhea's winning. But I thought the match was great, and Raquel looks dominant, looks powerful. I think they're going to continue to push her. Kiana, like you mentioned, somebody that they obviously believe in. She starts as Julia's sidekick, and right now you can make the argument that they're pushing her more than they are Julia.
I'd say so. I would not be surprised if Julia ends up dropping the belt to Io here shortly. I think that's the avenue they're going there with that. Yeah.
So, they're definitely wanting to get her going. I thought Tiffy's new look almost felt like, okay, this is the start of a heel turn, which you've heard rumors about. She wants to be a little bit more edgy, but I thought it was a great look for her. The hair, the outfit, her with a little more, get away from the prissy cheerleader. I'm great. More of that.
It had a little Bam Bam Bigelow-esque look to it to me.
Yep, for sure. So I thought they did a great job with that. And I'm hoping it kind of gives her a refresh. She had a good run. Even she come out and said, my run was kind of stale. I want to do some different things. So I think that could be good. I felt they did Asuka wrong, man. They just Asuka is fantastic. One of the best female wrestlers in the world, and just didn't get to showcase much here. And it's kind of been her story lately. It's just been a lot of her scream, her screaming and yelling. But in the ring, I think she definitely can do a lot more than they're allowing her to do. So all in all, I think the youngsters that were in there had a good showing. Kiana and Raquel. Alexa does her thing. She's just a solid person you can rely on. Rhea winning was no surprise. Love the Tiffy's new look, and I think they did it right. I think you got the right match here. And please put the belt back on Rhea. Please, like this whole Jade thing. Like you said, maybe down the line, but they have to work on mic skills and not just I'm that bitch. That seems to be all that she can come up with. Like they have to expand on that a little bit. But all in all, very solid match.
Watching her sit up in the stands to me was just so off. But like when I saw it, I was like, oh, just like deflates the balloon when you see her. I'm just not bought in. And some people aren't going to like that take, but that's fine. But, we alluded to it. This was Rhea's night, right? She took it home. This is going to be the 6th WrestleMania in a row that she's going to be wrestling for a belt. And unless I am completely off kilter here, I think she walks away with the championship as well. And we did see several stories that are going to now spin off of this with the whole Alexa Charlotte, the EO possibly with the Julia, Kiana. We'll see what happens there. the Judgment Day. I don't know how much longer they have. We'll get into that with Finn here in just a little bit. So, Rodriguez is going to have some things to kind of come up with on her own there. So all in all, not a bad match. Now, unfortunately for me, it kind of took a sharp turn. And again, this is a match where I think people may disagree with me, but you had AJ Lee in the hometown return into Chicago facing Becky Lynch. AJ Lee coming out on top. Again, predictability. This was one that I think most people thought this is the way this was going to go. You had the chance for her and Punk both to win in Chicago, which would have been the story, that they wanted, and that's what they got. For me, I didn't like this for a couple reasons. I know that AJ was coming off of a 10-year hiatus in the ring. You expect ring rust to be there. Becky did carry her quite a bit through that match. There was a lot of times where I saw Becky having to pick up some of the slack, which is okay to be expected. But the way that the match ended, you've had Becky with a DDT on a steel chair and then the manhandle slam for AJ Lee to kick out of, which you and I being more old school, a finisher's a finisher. Like, it's called a finisher for a reason, right? And then to have AJ win the belt, the reason I don't like it is if she's going to now come in and be more full-time, okay, we can run with that. I don't like part-time champions. They were already talking in the broadcast, like, how often are we going to see her in 2026? Is it going to be the next time we see her? Is it WrestleMania where she defends it? Maybe goes for the, third hat trick match against Becky so Becky can get it back. For me, I thought Becky should have taken this match.
I agree. This was the most predictable, with it being in Chicago, her adopted hometown, which she looked kind of annoyed when Mark Nash said from wherever, New Jersey. Yeah. I think they wanted the Chicago tie into it, and he had a couple little slips, announcing. But yeah, this
one, Williams, right?
Yeah. I'm like, come on, man, you got to at least know their name. So. But yeah, I knew that they would give this to AJ Lee, and I had the same concerns. Like, you're putting this belt on her. Is she going to be around? Is she going to be full-time? Or is this just okay, she's back. She's in her hometown. Her husband's the champ. Let's get her a belt. I don't know that I want to see that match again. I mean, at WrestleMania, but who else do you book? If you're going to book her, what else can you do? Yes, you had plenty of time to come up with a story and develop something over the next 6-7 weeks. But all in all, this match, kind of a yawner. Like I said, it was a lot of Becky doing the heavy lifting. And I'm not the biggest Becky fan, but I respect the hell out of Becky. I do.
For
her
sure.
work in the ring, her work on the mic, getting the crowds fired up. And she is an incredible heel. But this match, to me, probably the worst match of the night, if I had to rank them.
Mike skill, she's got to be one of the best out there.
Oh,
I mean, hands down. I think the line with "you can't see him anymore" it's probably going to go down in history as one of the top 5 ever moments. That'll be reiterated at her Hall of Fame speech at some point down the road, I think. So I'm with you. A little lackluster. Maybe this is an opportunity for some of the young bloods to come in and vie for that title, or go after Julia in the United States Championship. The Kiana Jameses, Sol Ruka, when she gets that call up, maybe those are those titles that they vie for in the beginning before they actually get themselves to that championship caliber. But not a fan of the way it turned out. We'll see if maybe they prove me wrong and AJ becomes one of those defending champions, but I'm just not sold on it right yet. And now the mystery, the big mystery. So this is another one. I'm not real familiar with Danhausen. I'll just be honest with you. I had to do some research. I went back, I watched some AEW. I understand the point of the character. I understand what he's supposed to do. I get all of that. The questions that I have are, number one, a lot of it was community hype, right? So we built up this crate we were expecting Jericho. We wanted the big payoff. We wanted something huge. I think a couple of weeks ago, people started speculating maybe this could be a Danhausen thing. I don't like, number one, how they were taking the crate back and forth from Raw over to SmackDown. They made this build up to be something that you were thinking and anticipating, okay, is it going to be something that both brands, are going to be a part of? Could it be a draft? Could it be a podium inside there that they're going to do a draft after, they get through the Elimination Chamber, something to that effect. And then you've got Hausen come out. I get the shtick. I just don't see where it fits in the current WWE storyline. And for that, you could hear the reaction from the crowd. There was some boos. There was a lot of just silence. And this just wasn't the payoff I think that WWE was expecting.
I think they expected more people to know who he was, and if you don't watch AEW, you have no idea who Danhausen is. Now, I've dabbled in AEW, if it's on in the background, things like that. Okay. And it's no shot to any AEW fans. You like what you like. You're not going to get any flack from me, but it feels like this is our truth. It's a comedy. It's now he does have some funny moments, and I think if they utilize it right, it can pay off. But it feels more like a lower level. Like, is he going to be on NXT? Is he going to be in AAA? Is it? I don't see him. If he is on the main roster, Raw, SmackDown, I don't see that lasting very long. Even a good comedy act gets old real quick. Now, Truth is a legend. Truth is always funny. Very hard to replicate what he does. I just feel like this will be very, very short-lived if it is on Raw or SmackDown. Plus, you had this crate for 12 days. So a human being can't be in a crate for 12.
Right.
I mean, we all have, yes, it's fake. It's a story. It's whatever. But so that's what led me to him. Okay, a guy in a casket can okay, that makes sense. But if they would have debuted Jericho out of a crate, like we got to do better than that. So I was more on your page. I figured that was either Danhausen or some kind of new Andre the Giant trophy or something along those lines.
Yeah, 2K26 or something that they were going to just do to, But even to your point with R-Truth, the comedy can fit, but even Truth, like, he's not in the ring very often, right? No. I mean, he's just that backstage character. So if you're going to take a moment out of one of your biggest PLEs of the year for this, there needs to be a payoff. This guy needs to be automatically, to me, thrown into the mix. Like, it would have been crazier had they held off on, somebody like Oba to come out of that crate and just wreck house or something, suspend your belief a little bit that somebody's in that crate for 12 days, but a bigger payoff of somebody that's going to come in and just clear house rather than him coming out with some, with dancers looking like, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and then lights go black and you disappear underneath the ring. So.
Yeah, that one definitely fell flat. And I almost felt bad for the guy. You're making your big debut. They've hyped this up. And, there's a little bit of a pop in the beginning. And then, just like you said, just silent. You could see the faces in the crowd. Like, what is this? Who is this? What are we doing? I just think we could have done a lot better with this.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, they picked things back up, which I thought they were. I anticipated this next match to be a banger. To me, I thought it was great. It's probably the match of the night. Yep. I highly respect Finn Balor. I didn't think that they would swerve us because, to your point, the predictability, we all knew that CM Punk was going to win. Hometown, he's going to be the one to face Roman at WrestleMania. That's kind of locked in. I do want to see Finn get his shot at some point here. I think this will set up some, opportunity for the Judgment Day to kind of dissipate. We'll see how this plays out on Raw with all of that going into it. But I do have to say the highlight of the match, the wrestling was phenomenal. The old school 1990s Chicago Bulls United Arena entrance music, when that hit, chills. I was like, this is fantastic.
Same. It was incredible. Like, what a great idea. But yeah, instantly I got, because I love that Bulls team. I grew up in Milwaukee. My Bucks were not great growing up. So I loved Michael Jordan. I loved that team. That's just an iconic intro. The announcer, everything to go along with it was incredible. But yeah, I thought this match was great. The problem is, going into it was like 0% chance that Finn wins. I mean, I just didn't see any scenario where they would pull that. So that's my issue, is when you already know this guy, there's not a chance they're going to give Finn the win. But I do think they're building him up, because I think it's going to be Finn and Dom, hopefully Demon Finn. I love the build for Finn. I love that they went back to his old music. And this has been brewing for so long. It just makes sense. Like, all right, look, he can hang with CM Punk. Makes sense to put him in this match. And I would love to see that match. Dom's another guy. I know he's been injured, but we just don't see him as much as I would like to see. And Finn getting more of a spotlight now. I think that'd be a phenomenal match, especially if they brought back the Demon. Sign me up for that. Can't wait.
Yeah, writing's on the wall, I think. To your point, though, losing back-to-back title matches to Punk, I don't know how much that rose his stock, other than just to get him in, a main event at a PLE, right? So they check that box. That's fine, but he's been there before. The belt is what he needs. And where we get to that point, I don't know, because I don't know a future where I can necessarily see Finn taking the belt from a Roman if he should win at WrestleMania, or maybe they give the win to Punk, and then if he does do the Demon turn, then you could have the Demon against Punk, and that's his opportunity to get the belt. That would be great. I'd pay to see that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
but like you said, predictable as always. CM Punk with the win. The one thing I will say now, this is going to be a little bit of sidebar, and I think we may have had this off camera conversation before. to me, the finishers are what get me. I go to sleep to me is one of just lamest finishers that's out there. I would rather see a tombstone pile driver or a razor's edge or, a pedigree all day long than just let me just drop you down on my knee. Now, I get it. In real life, if that happened, it hurt. But to me, just as a finisher, I can't, I just doesn't do it for me. It doesn't, raise the bar for me to the level of like, all right, that's going to end a match. But other than that, great match. That's the only critique I have is I'm just not a fan of CM Punk's finisher.
It might be the heel and the old school in us that want that finish. I mean, think back to the worst finisher of all time is Hulk Hogan. I mean, I'm dropping a leg on
right.
you and that's it. That's a wrap. The match is over. So, but you're right. The GTS, we could list, maybe we'll do that one, the top 10 worst finishers on one of the shows. That will certainly be in there. And I've always said this to myself. I don't know how the coup de grace doesn't hurt. I'm going to jump squarely onto your chest, and I know that he's probably got a way to soften that blow, but it's still a dude jumping 2 feet onto the center of your chest. It's got to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, it feels like you one misplaced foot and a ribs cracking or breaking, and it could be the end of that could be a long road of recovery for them. So great match though, and I think they finished it off well, right? So we had the men's elimination chamber. I know that there were some mixed feelings about this. I'll give props to WWE, right? They were handed a whole lot of oh crap moments right before the elimination chamber that they had to clear up. I don't think anything. They didn't see Bronson Reed getting injured. Obviously, he was supposed to partake in this. He would have played great in that heel role. He would have done what I think they did with Paul he went through and just steamrolled a few wrestlers time and time again. That was going to be Bronson Reed, no doubt about it. I think this gave everybody a little bit of a chance to breathe with the exception of one person, and I'll keep coming back to this, and I know people harp on it. They're destroying LA Knight. I don't know what their goal is with him, but to have him go out to a low blow and then a finisher with Jake Paul in the middle of this match, he should have been at least one of the last two standing, in my opinion. It makes no sense. I don't know what they're doing with his career. If they just have Triple H just doesn't like him for some reason, I don't know what it is. Outside of that, I think there are some really great things in this match. I think there's going to be Javon Evans. He's going to have a time where he's going to need to harness just a little bit. I think he needs to pull back just a little bit. He gets a little so frantic in the ring that it can be a little bit hard to follow. Trick Williams, you could put a belt on him right now, and I don't think that the fans would disagree. He is so over like no one I've seen as of late. I mean, in the middle of the match, whoop, that trick is going off. He did a great job. Cody did Cody things. This was probably the match I was most pleased in that Cody did not win. I wasn't sure if they were going to give another person an opportunity, but to see the fact that they actually did it with Randy, and here's my thought, and then I want to get your opinion on it. I think what this does is automatically giving Cody an opportunity to now face Drew because of all the antics that Drew's been doing. To me, one of two things is going to happen. This is either setting up for a WrestleMania that's going to be maybe a fatal four-way where you're going to have now Cody and Drew, and you're probably going to throw like a Fatu in there, to go against Orton, or get the belt away from Punk or from McIntyre, give it to Cody, and then at WrestleMania allow Cody and Orton to have that final match that everybody's been hyped up for.
Those were my two scenarios, so we're on the same page. Because there's been that underlying tension with Randy and Cody, which is kind of fun. They've never really gone at it. Few instant, even last night. They're staring each other down. So I think it's either that or, like I said, that the four-way is exactly what I was thinking. Is they've been working Fatu into this whole thing, intertwined with Drew, intertwined with Cody, so it would make sense. I mean, the other one would be, okay, well, Cody wins, we have Randy and Cody, and you have Drew and Fatu to pay that storyline off. So it could go any of those directions. I would want to see the four-way, and I feel bad for Randy. He wants that 15th title. He should deserve that one-on-one match, and I think it would be a great match. I would much rather see Randy and Cody than Randy and Drew, personally. As good as Drew is, something just feels flat about it. Cody, things just kind of feel stale with him. I mean, so injecting some new blood, like a legend like Randy, Fatu, who's really shaped his body, really, has the crowd popping. So many different directions they could go. I'm not going to be mad about any of it. I think any of it would be a good match, but I think they do end up settling on the four-way for the title.
Yeah, this is one of those times where I feel like a lot of times Triple H doesn't listen to the soundboards out there. This may have been one with Rhea winning for the women, with Orton being able to pick up the win for the men. You took it away from Cody, you took it away from Tiffy, you gave the opportunity to others to get in there. So I think they may have been listening. Here's the thing I'll ask though, kind of the asterisk to this whole thing is, how does Aleister Black now fit into this whole Randy Orton scenario?
That's, going into this, me and my brother talk wrestling a lot, and that little backstage they had on Friday night, I'm like, okay, they're setting up Randy and Aleister. So I don't know, maybe it becomes an even bigger match. I know they love to do the big ladder match. That's generally like a US title, things like that. Maybe they end up going that route. I think they want to pay off this Drew angle that he's been such a pain in the ass. Like, all right, we're going to make things real difficult for you. It ain't just going to be one-on-one. You're going to have a lot of guys in. So it's as simple as Fatu interfering in this match. We don't get a clear winner. Okay, now we need 4 guys. But I always hope they would push Aleister Black a little bit more. All maybe the guys they brought back, and Rusev, and they impact so much when they get here, and then nothing. I mean, Black's had that match with Damian Priest was incredible. He is a worker, man. That guy is phenomenal. And it just seems like they're just stuck where they're at, like kind of under, the top guys that next level with, an IC title, a US title makes sense, but it'd be nice to see some of these guys give them a chance, put them in the main event picture.
Why not? Or is there a world? I mean, he's tied up now, obviously in the championship match, but is there a world where that Aleister Black scenario plays out into a heel turn for Orton, and now you've got him and Aleister pairing up together and seeing where that can go? Maybe you've got a darker twist on Randy Orton. So curious to see. I think Monday night's going to answer a lot of questions, but overall, I mean, a solid PLE considering some of the ones have fallen short lately. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions that we're going to see on both Raw and SmackDown this week, how they kind of put bows on some of these storylines. Overall, pretty satisfied with it. Like I said, C+, B-, but I think they did a pretty good job for what they were given. And the last thing that we need to make sure we touch on, obviously, the Masked Man, finally. And what I will give them credit for is the way that they were able to do it while throwing some of those decoys out there, I thought was a great way to then be able to tie it back to Seth coming in. And this, to me, just kind of leads up the opportunity of now, okay, Bronson's out. You're probably going to have something where it's going to be Logan Paul versus Seth, get that payback match there, and then see where Seth goes beyond this. But glad to see him back in the ring. Hopefully this means that he's healed enough to actually wrestle. I'm sure, again, tomorrow night we're going to see him come out and we'll hear a nice little monologue from him. So, but happy they finally got that out. And the way that they did it, I think, was the best that they could have given the situation.
Yeah, for sure. Seth is my number one PC. Big fan. The guy has just been such a worker over so many years, and heel, face hasn't mattered in a group on his own. He's reinvented himself so many times. And I heard the 2 guys they use are from his wrestling school. So I don't know.
Yeah, they're on his Instagram.
A new group for him, a way to introduce these guys immediately as, okay, these guys are a big deal. They're debuting with Seth. Now that's your showdown with the Vision. But, the curveballs they've been throwing, like you said, I'm sure they wanted Seth against Braun. Okay, that's out. Seth against Bronson. Now that's out. Jake Paul, obviously building him up, eliminates 3 guys last night, but you love him or hate him. That dude is an athlete, man.
He's an athlete, and he's getting the heel heat. He's getting the heel heat, which is all he can ask for.
For sure. He's good on the mic. He is an explosive athlete. The crowd gets fired up. Anything he does, I think he's got a very bright future. So that match, I think, will be phenomenal. But these 2, all the other masked men, I'm wondering, was this just a way for them to fill the time, or are these guys going to debut? Seth's got a little new stable going. So many unanswered questions that I'm excited to see Raw and SmackDown this week.
Well, it's great. We'll see where it's going. And this is what's going to be part of our ongoing episodes. As you take this journey with us, we're going to be recapping all of the Raws and SmackDowns, seeing where these storylines go, seeing how our predictions hold up. But you did mention something there that we're going to just finish off this segment with. And you said Seth is one of your main PCs, and it's called 2 Heels, 1 Hobby for a reason. We do want to focus on the hobby. It's a hobby that we know and love. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity for us to share just a couple of the cards that are in our collections now that really mean a lot to us, stand out to us. You and I have talked about it. That can rotate for me almost on a weekly basis. I can look at a card now and it's my favorite, and then 2 days later, I've got another favorite. But let's go ahead and talk through some of these and just, why is it your favorite? What does it mean to you? What is it about this card that's got you saying this might be one of my top threes at the moment? So we're going to start with your guy, Seth freaking Rollins.
I mean, I'm a big Flawless fan. I am a huge Flawless believer. We had 1 year of this. To me, it is still the top product in wrestling, and one-on-ones are not easy to come by. So I would love the one-on-one auto that our boy Rydollar just snagged the other day. But I am just a huge Seth fan. I like a lot of wrestling-wise, love the guy. Wrestling card-wise, affordable. When I started this, like, you always felt like there's people when you get into this, like, they're too high. Their stuff's a little too, and I felt like Seth was super cheap. So really dove in, and it has paid off. I mean, when I look at what I paid for some of the stuff to what it is now, it's been an incredible appreciation on his cards. And I think that only continues. Is he ever going to be up in the stratosphere with Romans and Rhea's and people like that? Probably not. But that's something that, it's a little bit more affordable to grab cards like this. A one-on-one, say Rhea, Liv Morgan, whatever, may be out of some people's price ranges.
Sure.
I just love anytime I can get Flawless, and anytime you get a one-on-one, it's just cool to say I have the only one of this in the whole world. So big fan of this card.
I'm with you. And for those of you who are new to the wrestling card side of things, outside of wrestling cards, typically Flawless in most other sports is the pinnacle. That is the, premium product. Nothing is numbered over 25 within the product. And now that there's been the shift from Panini over to Fanatics, this may be the one and only set of Flawless that you're going to see in WWE. So if you get a chance to grab those cards, I would say jump on it right now. You mentioned something that, about the cards and just the premium product. And that's where my first choice comes in play here. We talked about being a little bit more old school. So Ultimate Warrior is one of those guys that I loved. That he's got a love-hate relationship. Some people say he was horrible in the ring, whatever. The persona, the character, there was none better at the time for what he did and the energy he brought. And this is his white sparkle in a PSA 10. Now, there's a few things that I really go for when I look for cards. Number one, PSA 10s are king, whether you like PSA or not, how long it takes to get them back. The card values are just there through PSA. They bring the biggest premium. So if you can get the 10, that's the route to go. These white sparkle cards are one of my favorite in my collection. I probably have about 25 or 30 different white sparkles now. They only printed these in white sparkle packs. It's the only chance that you had the opportunity to get them from Panini, and they are rumored to be numbered 20 or less. They're not hand numbered on the cards, but they're scarce. And so I tell everybody that I come across, if you get your chance to get your hands on a white sparkle of your favorite wrestler, take advantage, because these cards are premium. And this is one of my favorite cards. I love the pose. I love the red, white, and blue juxtaposition on the card of the colors. It just is one that pops for me.
Yeah, I love this card. And I'm a big white sparkle fan as well. And the beauty of this, a lot of them are very off-centered. So, you don't see many in a 10, unfortunately. Centering is a huge issue on these. But as the kids say today, aura. Who had more aura than the Ultimate Warrior, man? I mean,
that's right.
Was incredible. So you can bash on his wrestling skills all you want, but the sprint to the ring, the rope shake, he was always a favorite of mine. So I'm with you. White sparkles are incredible. I've added a bunch to my collection. This card is awesome.
It's awesome. Well, you mentioned him earlier. You talked about card values. Maybe one of the kings of the kings right now, the Tribal Chief. Talk us about this gold prism Roman Reigns.
So I've always been a big Roman Reigns fan, even when everyone hated him and they're pushing him too much, and just the run that he went on, I think carried this company. I mean, it was absolutely electric. The story with his family, the bloodline. This was actually one of the first cards that got me back into things, and an opportunity to get this at a very good price. The prices of Prism Golds, another card. You see Prism Golds, you just buy them, and store them away. So, this is definitely a step down from that, but first on print in a PSA 10 in an iconic pose. I think this one is only going to grow. This is one I just absolutely love having in the collection. Roman is a guy, Seth and Roman, and we'll get to my third, are my main three PCs. And he will go down as one of the best, not only in this era, but of all time. So really happy to have this one. And I just love the card, love the pose. And love it in a PSA 10 slab and first on print out of 10. Some people put weight into that, some don't. I always like to have the bookends. It's just
absolutely
it makes me feel good inside.
little bit of a buyer's premium on the bookends. The other thing I'll say too, again, if you're newer to card collecting, this is one of those weird scenarios where gold is kind of king, right? So you will have cards within a set that may be numbered lower. You get the greens that are numbered to 5. You can get the lucky envelopes numbered to 8, some mojos with lower numbers, some first off the line variations that are numbered to 11. The gold's always going to sell for higher value because people just cherish the gold color. That's just one of the things. So if you're looking for cards, and you wonder why maybe you see a gold that is more valuable than something numbered to 5 or less than 10, it's because of that gold color. So just something to just take into consideration as you're looking to build out your collection. The next one for me is a controversial one because not a lot of people were big onto this set, but I'm going to tell you why. So this is the Trance Tacticians case hit super short print variation from Cactus Jack of Charlotte Flair. And it's important to me for a couple of reasons. Number one, I currently live in North Carolina. So you don't live in North Carolina and not be a fan of both the Queen herself and Ric Flair. So I've got a huge Charlotte Flair collection to go along with the Ric Flair collection. She's one of my PCs. And it's just something about, number one, this just variation of this card, just the short print of the Trance Tacticians that just pops for me. I love the look of it. I love the crosses that say Cactus Jack when you get into the details. This just has a great look. The color tone of it, it's just that it's not a straight black and white. It's a little more of that off gray. It's just to me, like a haunting looking card. And I just love this set.
Yeah. I mean, I have not been able to find a set. And I look daily. So that shows you how hard these can be to find. But yeah, I love that set as well. And we may not get Cactus Jack again. This may be a one and done with that. So I know he's still got a relationship with Topps, but WWE not so much. So I'm interested to see, is this a one and done? But those are very, very, very difficult to find. So you tied it all together well there. And yeah, you got to be a fan in Carolina of the Flair.
Absolutely. Woo! You mentioned this guy as being one of your favorites. He's one of mine too. Up and comer, the werewolf himself. Talk to us about Fatu.
I love Fatu. I see so much potential in him, and unfortunately, it could go one of two ways. Sometimes guys like him, and it's easy to say like an Umaga, a thing like that. Are they ever going to reach the pinnacle of and be a champion? This guy has champion written all over him. I mean, like I said earlier, really reworked his body lately. I mean, he's cut off a lot of weight. Just moving the way this guy moves at his size, absolutely incredible in that bloodline. And to get a Tiger, which we know are limited to 7 of each one, I believe. Ringside was his only release that year. So a rookie in a PSA 10 slab. I could not buy this one fast enough. I got a really good deal on it. I've had some offers on it. And it's just one of them cards like, I will hang on to this. And if he does ascend to where I think both of us think he can go. I know you're a huge Jacob Fatu fan.
Love him.
This is going to be a staple for me for a long time, with it being so limited. His rookie card in a ringside PSA 10 slab. Absolutely love this card.
Yep. And again, for the newer collectors out there, so Prism did 3 animal variations. You had the elephant print, the zebra print, and the tiger. The tiger is the most short print of those 3. So if you're kind of looking as to which one you want to add to your collection, if you get a chance to grab a tiger, especially a ringside, because ringside is the premium of the select variations. So a tiger select ringside in a 10, it's as good as it gets. So this is one that they would have to just peel out of my cold head hands, because
absolutely.
I'd be holding it forever. Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't end on quite possibly, one of the greatest to ever do it. For sure, top 2 on the mic, if not the greatest to ever do it. But, he's the man himself, The Rock. Just a throwback to the Attitude Era. This is in my prime high school going into college days, where all of those things like DX Suck It and him coming out and doing his promos were just the greatest things ever. Watching Stone Cold come out with the beer truck, just that was the highlight of wrestling for me. And so to get a chance to get The Rock again in a PSA 10, and this is the hidden gems out of the Topps Chrome set. Super short print case hit, not even case hit. I mean, you'd be lucky to get these in probably 1 out of 5 or 6
Very
cases.
Rare. Yep.
So rare card, especially in a 10, but this is a gem of my collection. And so it's one that I had to share.
Yeah, I love it. I was a huge Rock fan. Was there anybody better on the mic? I mean, you can make arguments for some guys, but absolute legend in a 10. These are incredibly tough to find. So beautiful card right there.
Yeah. Big fan. So that's just a little bit of a snippet into our collections. I mean, if we had few hours, maybe we could dig a little deeper. That could take a long time, but this is just the beginning of the journey for us here with, Two Heels, One Hobby. This is something that we hope that can parlay into multiple episodes, getting the community involved. But we just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a taste of the things that we enjoy in the hobby, a little bit of tips here and there. Those are going to continue to come as we go. But for a first episode, this was a fantastic time. I could sit on here and talk all day long. Don't know if we'd hold those viewers for a 3 or 4 hour show. So we'll cut it here. But Beer, this has been absolutely awesome. I look forward to what's to come and all the great things that this could, transpire into.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a show for the people. We want to know what you guys want to talk about. So we're going to do segments about, gals we want to buy low, sell high, different collecting strategies and brands and things like that. So some weeks it'll be more focused on the cards, some coming off of PLE like today. We want to really make sure we cover it. But the main point, what do you guys want to see? What do you guys want us to talk about? We'll be bringing on guests. We really want this to be somewhere that you can come and talk about wrestling cards. And, neither of us are going to be here talking about $50,000 cards and things that are out of reach. So we'll try to focus on what you guys think is important. But been a lot of fun. Really excited to get this off the ground and excited to see where it goes.
Awesome. Well, make sure that you like and subscribe to this video. Put a comment below. Let us know those things you'd like to see in future videos. And we'll be dropping probably once a week just so that you guys can get the cadence of our content. And we want to know what you guys want to see so we can make sure we include it. So put those comments below. We appreciate your time. Have a great evening. We'll see you next time.
That's the final bell for Two Heels, One Hobby. Wrestling news, collector heat, and championship talk. Make sure you like, subscribe, and join the movement. Hosted by Beer and the Grinch.